GMG is a premier performance tuning facility that specializes in modifying high-end cars. We also have a part of the company that's involved in professional racing, and that's where a lot of our technology and our data and our knowledge comes from when we're modifying a lot of these street cars.
I've been racing since 1994. When I started in small front-wheel drive cars and worked my way up to racing the Porsches and BMWs today. So I've had a lot of experience in all types of cars, on all different types of tracks, on all different types of tires. So here we are now racing the high-end Porsches for GMG.
The Invo tire is actually very predictable when it comes to cornering. Since it does have a relatively stiff sidewall, it's very consistent. So when you actually come into a corner and you have the tire have its initial bite, what you're having is most tires the sidewall flex, and that gives more of a sloppy feeling in a vehicle. Whereas with the Invo, since the sidewall is stiffer than most performance tires, you have the ability to have more control over the vehicle, so it's a lot more predictable.
The reason why the tire performs so well under cornering is that in order to increase cornering power, you have to have a very high tread surface stiffness, and we were able to achieve that through the construction and also the tread pattern. Not just the tread pattern, but the profile of the tread pattern. What we were able to maximize is the transition from going straight and the contact patch moving to the side, to the outer shoulder. As you can see, the outer rib is almost continuous. The reason why it has grooves is for rain evacuation, but the transition is very smooth and the tread surface does not deform. If you can imagine the tire, the contact patch is usually square. Under cornering, you can see that the contact patch actually deforms. In our tire, we have tried to minimize that and try to maintain the contact patch shape and also provide as much contact patch as possible on the outside.
I think definitely having the stiffer sidewall and overall tread pattern of the tire allows you to get on the power sooner, allows you to put the power down to the ground, where other tires will tend to spin or have more slip, as we call it sometimes. The Invo, since it's got nice tread blocks, it puts a lot more tire down to the ground, like a slick, for instance, would in comparison where you have no tread. The Invo has a lot of big blocks, and that allows you to put the power down. It has grip, so coming out with cars that have more horsepower, you have the initial bite and you have the traction, whereas with other tires you don't.
One of the aspects of the Invo that we really try to focus on is traction, which is vital for anybody that wants to do sports type driving. The challenge was to find the ideal balance between dry and wet. And what we had to do was come up with a brand new computer simulation program to simulate such a difficult tread pattern. We focused on the tread compound. Typically, ultra-high performance tires have compounds that work better in higher temperatures and not so well in the lower temperatures. So in the wet, where the tire never really builds too much heat, we added silica and made some compound modifications. So we made sure that the compound works for a much wider range of temperatures versus your traditional ultra-high performance tire.
I like the Invo tires' performance characteristics, especially with the Porsches that we have run them on, because the Porsches have excellent braking. So when I'm actually testing the tire and I'm doing heavy braking into the corner, the tire actually has a lot of grip and it actually pulls that car down and slows it down tremendously.
The reason why the Invo performs so well under braking is because we have optimized the construction to provide a stable underpinning for the tread pattern to work. And as you can see, there's 4 ribs on this tire, and all 4 work in unison to try to provide a stable surface for when you put the braking load on the tire. If you look at the inside surface, this is a semi-continuous rib that doesn't flex very much. We have a solid rib. This provides the majority of the stability. And also this tread block, although it's not semi-continuous, if you look closely, there is interlocking elements in between the tread blocks, and that reinforces the rigidity of this rib as a whole, and that gives the driver the confidence to break deeper into a corner and he at all times knows how much more he has and how much more he can push.
With my experience behind race cars and running on race tires, I actually like a tire to react instantly to my input. So when I'm looking at the Invo tire on my street car, I love the way it responds. It's very quick to my responses. The inputs that I give the car are immediate with this tire. It allows me to be real precise in driving the tire, whether it's through a high-speed sweeper or a small hairpin or any intermediate type of a corner.
In our tire, what we try to do is, yes, the sidewall is still softer than the full sports radial, but what we were able to do is optimize the sidewall construction with a very stiff bead filler material to reinforce the bead area. So upon turning, you can imagine the contact patch transitioning from the center of the tire over to the outside, and having the stiff sidewall area transmit a lot of information about this contact patch all the way back to the steering wheel of the driver. So the driver always knows how much grip he has, what the car is doing, and that's very vital. Whereas luxury type driving, you want to be isolated from all these vibrations. We believe that the end consumer shouldn't have to sacrifice and take sides, and we want to provide something that fuses performance and luxury together better than our competitors.